Welcome into the Irish Squad Show. I'm Joe George, post-game host, and man, it was a roller coaster game, but the Irish get the win.
I'm Alan Pinkett, two-time All-American, and today was verification that if you want to win, you run the ball.
Reggie Brooks, 1993 All-American. Hey, all I got to say is number 4, number 24. Them boys are cold.
Play like a champion today. It's the Fighting Irish Squad Show. Everything Notre Dame Fighting Irish every week. Breaking down the biggest news and game-changing plays the way only Locked On Podcast Network can. Wake up the echoes. The Fighting Irish Squad Show starts now.
Welcome into the Irish Squad Show. I'm Joe George alongside Alan Pinkett and Reggie Brooks. And guys, the Notre Dame Fighting Irish get the win 34-24. They covered, depending on when you got it. So it just depends on that. But it was a good game for the Irish. It was an up and down game for the Irish. There's so much to get into with the positives, the negatives, the penalties, the kicking game we'll have to touch on. There's so much to go through. But what's your biggest takeaway? Just starting there. Reggie, since you're no longer the single game rushing record holder against the USC Trojans, how you feeling about this game?
I feel absolutely wonderful. I mean, with the weather the way it was, that is how you run the football. That's how you win that game. And that offensive line played out of their minds. And open up holes. But the biggest thing was watching those receivers block down field and create space. This is, like I said, just grind it out and, hard-nosed football. This is Notre Dame football, baby. And to do it against USC, it doesn't get any sweeter than that.
Well, we thought that there may be an issue with the fact that we lost our starting center. But I think that the backup equipped himself very well because we ended up with 306 yards rushing as a team. And I think this is what the, Den Brock and the rest of the offensive brass envisioned when this team was coming together, that they would just bring CJ Carr along and we would win by running the football. CJ had a decent game. He had a couple of plays I'm sure he'd love to have back, but I've really just enjoyed the grit and the determination that the offense played with. And, like Marcus Freeman said in the beginning of the week, this had to be a violent and bloody game. And I think the offensive line really took it to them. And the defense had their own struggles, but when it was really time to shut them down, they were able to shut them down. So a complete victory, and one that the Irish had to have, if they want to keep their playoffs alive. But see, I don't think they're thinking about the playoffs. I think they were just thinking about beating USC. And I think there's a maturity there with this group that you can't just hope to get to the playoffs. You got to handle your business, and you handle them one at a time. Each game is its own entity, and they went ahead and handled their business today.
Yeah, I mean, the running game in this one was from the very first series, that big run by Jeremiyah Love to get this thing going. And we saw Price have big runs in this one. They really, for the most part in this game, controlled the line of scrimmage throughout the entire game. And you have a backup center in. At one point, you lose your left guard, and he came back, but it didn't really matter. It didn't matter what USC was trying to do. And it was interesting to watch this game play out from like the UFC defense perspective, because clearly they respect CJ Carr because they did not want to let any big plays to happen. They didn't have any big plays in the passing game. Yeah. It was almost like they're like, yeah, we'd rather the running game beat you, which is an interesting decision when you have the most talented backfield in all of college football. So, Alan, what did you just see of why the run game worked so well for Love and Price in this game?
Number one, the offensive line was just blowing their D-line off the ball. They were getting tremendous push. They were creating nice lanes for the running backs. And, one of the things I noticed about Jeremiyah Love, remember last week, Reggie, or I said that he looked like he was predetermining some of his runs. Today, He was more relaxed. He was hesitant in the backfield a little bit, and then he stepped on the gas. And I mean, he exploded through the hole. And Jadarian was just Jadarian. That's what he does. I mean, he'd be a number one back on a lot of teams. But fortunately, we got both of them. But I just think that the offense just had a mentality of we're going to run the ball down your throat. And when you have that mentality, that's how you break a football team. You just break their heart when you continue to run and run and run. Put up 3 bills against a D1 team running. I mean, that's the only stuff Navy does, and they might throw the ball 5 times. So it was really a thing of beauty. And I was able to see the first half in person, made the trip down to the stadium. The stadium was full of energy, full of life. And, usually as players, you don't care what's going on in the stadium because you don't have to play the fans. But this was one of those atmospheres where the fans were just an imposing force. And, it was interesting because all the fans stood up when the defense was on the field, and all the fans sat down when the offense was on the field. So they had nice peace and quiet, but there was plenty of noise to try to rattle USC a little bit. But just an overall complete team win. Still got some things to work on, but I'm going to be happy with the W tonight.
Well,
Reggie?
you look at this game, you watch the offensive defensive line, and that was a question with I've said it with the center. I had some concerns, but Otting stepped up, played well. They did a great job of controlling the line of scrimmage, and the one thing in particular was getting 1 to 2 yards of push every down. And again, USC was playing that cover 2 shell. The Sucks said, hey, like I said, they're not going to let anything get over the top and make plays over the top. They were saying, hey, we're going to keep everything in front of us. But the thing about it, when you are able to run the ball, the patience that those backs showed, but also the patience that the run game shows, and like I said, with Brock calling the plays, if they're going to play 6 in the box, pound and ground and pound, move the ball. They did a great job of that. I'm sorry, I got to talk. The officiating is just I've named of the guys just really not making some calls. It's like, and like several times they were hitting our guys after the play, nothing. And like anything we did, it was like, there goes the flag. So I really respect how the team played through those challenges. And we just got to continue to play, like I said, one game at a time. This team is able to do. And defensively, man, they got it. This is what getting after the quarterback did a heck of a job. And I got Ray. This kid, he is taking it. He's getting it handed to him, and he just kept fighting back, kept pushing. But man, hats off to that young man to just continue to play through because they were going after him.
And didn't I see
Leonard Moore? Yeah. Dude, it speaks for itself. I mean, they stayed on top.
Reggie, we're gonna go find if you can find a better spot with Wi-Fi and come back because we were losing you there a little bit in the end.
Yeah.
So leave the room and then come on back in. We'll get you back in here in a second.
Didn't I see Lincoln Riley walk off the field without going to shake hands with Marcus Freeman, or am I mistaken?
Yeah, I was kind of getting ready for the show, so I might have missed it as well, but I didn't see it.
It appeared that Marcus was looking for him, and he just walked straight to the locker room. I didn't know that there was friction between the two. If I'm incorrect, somebody please tell me. But it appeared because like I said, I watched the first half in person and raced home. so I could watch the rest of it. And it just appeared to me that he walked directly off the field. And maybe Lincoln Riley is just thinking, this is speculation on my part. He's thinking, well, I don't have to see them anymore. This is the last time we're going to play, so I don't need to shake his hand. But I would love to get verification, because it looked like on the telecast that there wasn't that, coach to coach exchange at the end of the game.
Yeah, I mean, the Trojans took a week ago, or like week and a half ago, they had the game on their schedule still for next year. It's been removed since. So I think that's a clear indication. But this game was chippy. I mean, we saw Jeremiyah Love from pretty much the get-go in this game was getting into it with guys from USC. So even though they only play once a year in, college football and the transfer portal and everything, and guys who are in and out of these rosters at this point, like this game did have that, big time feel rivalry to it. And that's why, even as it was stressful for a majority of this game, throughout the entire game, I was still thinking to myself, man, I can't believe this is going to be the last one of these that we see for a very long time. It feels like that they're going to, for some reason, end this rivalry, and that USC doesn't want to play the Irish anymore. It's just disappointing. Like, even though, like, it's just this game, it lived up to the hype and more, even though it's a 10-point win, and we'll get through all the bad stuff too that happened for the Irish in this game. But it just felt like there should have been, like, there should be another one of these next year. There should be CJ Carr versus USC part 2 next season. It feels like that's not going to happen at this point.
It's sad, because there are a lot of rivalries that, have been put to the wayside, like a Washington State, a Texas A&M, Texas, but those were regional matchups. Even Ohio State, Michigan is a regional matchup. Notre Dame, USC is a national rivalry, and it, for so many years, determined, the course of who was going to be the national champion. It just had such an influence on the game. And, when both of these teams are good, it's good for college football. And I'm sorry, it's just great television. And I mean, yes, it's football, but it's also entertainment business. And you want to be able to have a good product to put on TV with college. And this, by far, is one of the best products that you could put on television. So I would just be sad to see it go away, but we'll find another rival, I guess.
But if it did, they got the win in the last one.
Yes,
that's what ultimately matters. Reggie, what'd you see from, the rest of the offense in this game outside of Love and Price? Because obviously they were so dynamic, but maybe the good things about the offense. We'll get to the negative stuff in the next segment, but what other good things did you see from the offense today?
Again, just again, the patience. And again, they had some difficult times. Guys are struggling. I think, and Coach Freeman mentioned it, I think CJ was pressing a little bit. Yeah. But again, he stayed within himself. Again, didn't continue to make those, after the interception. He said, hey, just take what they give you, because they were just giving us a lot of the underneath stuff, and just be patient. The patience that they showed to continue to run the ball and, get after it in the run game. But I cannot emphasize enough the importance of the blocking. Will Pauling, he had a great game blocking downfield. Hey, if they're not going to give us those positive plays in the passing game, those big shots downfield, okay, take what they give you and just keep pressing forward. And I really think, again, with some of the penalties that were called, it like I've said before, it takes away from the flow and the rhythm of the offense. Yep. And again, for them to continue to push through some of those difficult challenges, it shows the maturity of this offense, as it continues. And another thing was, like I said, seeing the offensive line block, because one of the things I was concerned about is also getting the levels, getting on different levels with the defensive line, and creating those, allowing those splitting the double team. They did a great job of staying on level, keeping a clean pocket, and again, pushing the ball down the field. The patience, and it's hard when like I said, you're used to getting those explosive plays, to stay within yourself, play within the offensive system that you have, and continue to just grind it out. And that's something that, that's not, it can be uncomfortable, and you can get out of a rhythm. And we were kind of out of the rhythm, and I was glad to see also Mike Denbrock, kind of change it up, because he wanted to go downfield. I know he wanted to go downfield, but he again said, hey, they're not going to give it to us. They're going to, like you said, Joe, they gave us the run. We took it.
And Reggie, correct me if I'm wrong.
To keep doing that.
Yeah, Reggie, correct me if I'm wrong, but did I see correctly? I was watching the end of the telecast. Didn't Lincoln Riley just walk off the field without going to do the normal handshake at the middle of the field?
I didn't see it, because I would say I was watching. I didn't even look. I didn't look, but you could very well be right.
It looked like he just went straight to the locker room, and Marcus was looking for him. And there, most of the guys were, exchanging hellos.
Yeah.
But there was one little, altercation. There was one little teeny altercation. Yeah, but
that game was chippy though.
Yes, it was.
It was a lot of going back and forth, pushing,
as it's supposed to be. As they don't like us, we don't like them. Yeah,
I love the intensity. I love the intensity of this game, and like I said, I was hyped. I mean, because again, going into this, the potential of this being the last one, coming out with a victory. Oh man, it doesn't get any sweeter than that.
All right, let's take our first break here. When we get back, let's start talking about what we saw from the defense a little bit. One more thing on Jadarian Price that we did not hit on yet, and we'll get to just keep talking about this game. Your guys' questions and comments also welcome in live here on YouTube. It is the Irish Squad Show. Today's show is brought to you by DoorDash. When the opening whistle blows on a new – that's the wrong ad read here. False start on Joe. It's almost the weekend. Time to look back and crown this week's MVP on Who Delivered, powered by DoorDash. Just like you can win every Saturday with DoorDash Streaks, saving more every time you order. These players delivered when it mattered most, and let's break it down. For the Notre Dame Fighting Irish, the player who delivered, it's Jeremiyah Love. A monster game again. Now, the all-time single-game rushing record holder against the USC Trojans. He was just phenomenal in this one. We can't ignore what Jadarian Price did as well. Having 300 rushing yards combined in this game from these guys, they absolutely dominated the Trojans. Just like Jeremiyah Love and Jadarian Price dominated for Notre Dame, they delivered. DoorDash also delivers your Saturdays with DoorDash Streaks. You save every Saturday you order. Stack it up all season, and you can save up to $250, including $100 in DoorDash credits. Order this Saturday. Keep the streak alive. Fuel your game day only with DoorDash. Terms apply. Promo period through November 18th. So the other thing with Price that we didn't mention was, USC scores and another kick return touchdown. He's incredible back there. Talk about like draft stock and everything, and his has to be just climbing. I work with the draft analyst that works for NFL.com, and he says he was just raving about Jadarian Price this week. But that kickoff return touchdown, it's one or two moves, and he's just gone. It's such a weapon, for them at this point. We see so many college teams get it wrong with when to take it out, good blocking. But it's just another thing that, when your special teams from your kicking perspective was awful this game, Price stepped up in a massive way there with that kickoff return touchdown to respond in that way. And that it just like sucked the life out of USC right in that moment.
Yeah, it's when USC went ahead, it kind of felt like, or they just grabbed the momentum. And momentum in a football game, I don't care what level it's on. It's just when you lose it. It's hard to get it back. But Jadarian Price was able to get it back. And let me say, so many things have to go right to be able to bring back a kickoff all the way. But outstanding individual effort by Jadarian Price to just refuse to go down and to keep his feet moving. Good things happen when you keep your feet moving, right, Reggie? And he just the perseverance on his part on that particular play. Hell yeah, his draft stock went up because he really has shown that he's not just a complement to Jeremiah Love. He's a weapon.
Well, not only that, I mean, you look at, he's done it before. Joe, you talked about it. The understanding the difference between when to take it out and when not to take it out. And again, when he kicked it in, and said, I saw in his eyes because he caught it on, going forward. And a lot of times, like I said, you catch the kickoff and you're going, it kind of goes back a step. Don't bring it out. But he caught that with, forward momentum, and you saw again just his low center of gravity, his ability to run with great pad level, and the explosiveness. Again, he runs through runs through arm tackles. He does that, like I said, running the ball. So he found the hole, hit it, and get it, and that's what he did.
Yeah, and understand too. Now, when you back up to receive a kick, like you retreat and then secure the catch, then start running, they gain 20 yards on you. But when you can catch it in stride, now you got a lot more room to operate. And so good on him to know that if I've got forward momentum, I might be able to make a play.
Alan, what'd you make of the defensive performance in this game? Because kind of like, some other parts kind of up and down, but for the most part, I mean, they dominated, in terms of the running game. It felt like USC never had a chance at all to run the ball. But Maiava was solid in this one, some big plays. Maybe the luckiest play we'll see this college season when he threw it up in the air to his guy. But just Alan, what'd you think of the defense in this one?
Well, I think that they got stronger as the game went along. The first drive by USC, I think they kind of shut themselves in the foot because they had a couple of penalties that, gave USC life. That actually happened throughout the game where USC was able to do something positive with some of the mistakes by the defense. But, the defense to me just continued to persevere, continued to play hard. And I'll single out Christian Gray for some of the plays that he probably felt like he didn't do well. He did answer the bell, when he was able to get a pick. And there was another chance where it looked like he may have gotten another interception, but the ball did hit the ground. So I'm appreciative of the fact that all those defensive backs have short memories. If they have a pass interference call or they, get burned, they come back to next series and they fight, until they can make a play themselves. So and I was also, I should say, impressed with the pressure. There were a handful of times that Maiava looked like the Statue of Liberty back there and just had all day to throw. But for the most part, there was good pressure on him. But that kid is a good quarterback. I mean, he can play, and he knows how to create more time for himself so that he can get an open guy. He's got a great arm, and I think he may be the best quarterback that they have played this year.
Well, I just start from the standpoint of, again, stopping the run. This defense, that was the emphasis. Again, they're going to get plays in the passing game.
Yeah.
When you're one-on-one, I was wondering if they were going to move Leonard Moore around and keep him on limit, and they did that, and he shut him down.
Yeah.
I mean, Leonard Moore shut him down. And again, they went after, Christian Gray, and he had his struggles. But again, he kept fighting back, kept going after it. And the linebackers, KVA, the boys coach. And, Drake, I've been guilty of it. I said, Drake Bowen in pass coverage is a liability. He stepped up. And their ability to get after the quarterback, a lot more pressure. And that was the thing about it. They were a lot more disciplined in their run line, in the rush lanes, and they didn't give Maiava those opportunities to break down the defense with his legs and run. They kept the running game shut down. Those running backs, they had a couple of little holes here and there, but they did a great job in the center of the defense of getting after the quarterback, but also stopping those running backs from getting those explosive plays. I think USC was number one in the country in yards, offensive yards per game, like I believe 552 or 556 or somewhere around there.
Yeah.
He had a solid game throwing the ball through over 328 yards, but they kept that run game shut down. And again, made them one-dimensional. And by making them one-dimensional, it really, put the pressure on Mayaba to make some plays in the passing game where it, came up with a couple of interceptions because, especially with the rain like it is, hey, if you're not going to beat me throwing and catching. And again, when you throw the ball, make sure we're tackling and, getting those guys on the ground. But that defense continues to get better, continues to improve. Love Dallas Golden. And again, you saw him on a couple of one-on-one matchups, and he did a solid job. And the safeties did a great job of, coming downhill and making plays in the alley in the run game and in the passing game as well. Don Shula, outstanding game. The strip, forcing the turnovers. I mean, these guys are, again, aggressive to the ball and looking to make turnovers, whether it's an interception, forced fumble. These guys are creating turnovers along the pace of what they did last year. So they're continually getting better and more getting after the quarterback and really forcing offenses to go the whole field.
And I'll just reiterate, look, the last thing I want to do is give USC a compliment. But I mean, they were and they are a very high-powered offense. And like you said, Reggie, they were top 5 passing total offense. And it's like we've seen some high-flying offenses this year. So you knew going in that they were going to make some plays. We used to always tell coaches, sometimes coaches would say, "You're not executing." And we'd have to say, "Hey, dude, they getting paid on the other side of the ball too. They're gonna make some plays." So you knew going in that USC was gonna make some plays. But the defense, holding that offense to 68 total yards rushing, that was spectacular.
Very
because I mean, this team has a extremely potent passing attack, but they really want to run the football, and Notre Dame was able to shut that part down. And like you said, Reggie, making them one-dimensional. Whenever you can make a team one-dimensional, oh, you stole their heart. You just eliminated any opportunity they would have to win on offense.
I do have a follow-up on the Leonard Moore part of this, though, because I'm curious. I feel like typically when we see a corner follow a receiver, it's not always as clear in which coverage you were going to be in this game. It did feel like the entire time, if Moore was, following their main receiver, following Lemon, they were in man coverage. But when he was on the outside, they were in zone. So is that normal? Because I feel like that's really extreme to be telling the other team so clearly, basically, hey, we're in man coverage if he's following him. If he's not, we're in zone. Is that typically what you expect to see?
They did switch it up.
In the second half, right?
Yeah. And again, you wanted to make sure, hey, you get your best, defender from a coverage standpoint on their best receiver. And, and forcing them to go to someone else, which they did, but they were not able to do that consistently. They had to go and challenge, Christian Gray, but to take a guy like Lemon out, because this guy, no one has been able to stop him all year. Nobody. And to lock him up like he did, that puts a lot of pressure on the offense to make plays somewhere else. And again, by stopping the run and really limiting Lemon and his opportunities. And again, and then in the second half, change it up. And it was great to see where you had Dallas Golden, in a slot role, and then nickel position, and he rotated all the way back to center field, and it really confused that the USC offense, because they were thinking, oh well, hey, they're in man because you got Leonard Moore locked up on lemon. Well, no, that was actually zone because you rotated the defense. I mean, and that again, it's a chess game. Lincoln Riley is known to be able to, like I said, spot. Oh, here's what they're doing. To be able to mix it up, give them that look initially, and to be able to change up. Hey, I mean, masterful job calling plays. And Chris Ash, that was a damn good offense, and to do what they were able to do to get to hold them under 20, to hold them up to 24 points, which a couple of those points were busted coverages where guys are running wide open, but for the most part, for the majority of the game, they kept USC's offense limited because they were limited to one area. And as I said before, you're not going to beat a team throwing and catching. Now you can beat a team throwing and guys breaking tackles and making plays and getting those big long runs. But they did a great job when they were the pass was caught, they come up, make the tackle. But it was initially, hey, it looked like this, but they were able to adjust and say, okay, hey, we're going to give you this look in the first half, and you're going to say, oh, well, hey, this when they see this, do this. And you saw it with, and Coach Osall would say, when a team starts using trick plays, they don't think they can beat you.
And the rank is crazy.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's take our next break. Let's talk about the things that need to get cleaned up from this game because there were a lot of penalties. The kicking game, CJ Carr, another freshman mistake in this one. Let's talk about all of that when we get back here on the Irish Squad Show. Today's show is also brought to you by SupplyHouse. When the opening whistle blows on a new repair, get your crew moving forward with SupplyHouse. Order today and see parts on your doorstep tomorrow. Over 280,000 plumbing, HVAC, and electrical items from the most trusted brands in the business. Their real-time inventory and honest lead times keep you from punting projects, while their industry-leading customer service always has your blind side covered. The part finder tools and 3D schematics can save you hours on jobs where every single detail matters. And their Trademaster perks like priority shipping and dedicated support make the whole process smoother. Join the free Trademaster program today and score serious perks like priority shipping, lower prices, and a dedicated support line by visiting SupplyHouse.com to sign up for free and use promo code SHCollege5 for 5% off your first order. That's SupplyHouse.com. Real people, real service. All right, so one thing we didn't mention with the defense there is really in the second half, you have two possessions that obviously gives USC the lead. You have, after you score the touchdown, the touchdown throw to Pauling, something honestly, guys, I don't know if I've ever seen before. The ball gets kicked out of bounds, so you give them the ball on the 35, and then two 15-yard pass interference penalties. But your defense holds them to a field goal. It's 21-16. Your offense goes 3 and out. The following possession, Christian Gray gets burned. He gets another pass interference penalty on that. And then he gets burned on the double move for a 66-yard touchdown. So it's 2 pass interference penalties on Gray and getting burned there. This is all before the interception. So that's like those 2 possessions is really what gave USC life in this game. All that being said, I can't imagine, Alan, you're happy with the amount of penalties we saw on the Irish today.
No, I wasn't. And I tell you, I was seeing them live. I thought some of the penalties were ticky-tack, but when they slowed it down and you watched it in slow motion, they were good calls. And one of the things that a defensive back is going to do, they don't mind committing pass interference because sometimes that'll save a touchdown. I'll give up 15 yards, but I'm not going to give up, 70 yards. And then because there's no consistency with the officials, some officials are going to call pass interference tighter than other conferences. So you don't know what you're getting every week. But, I just admire the fact that Christian Gray continues to battle. He hasn't changed the way he's played based on the referees. He's going to play the way he's going to play. And some referees are going to see that, okay, that's just the normal fighting that goes on between receiver and cornerback. And some are going to pull the flag real fast. But again, I like the fact that despite the penalties that were somewhat questionable, he continues to fight. And you just got to not have, a memory that dude beat you, on a couple of plays and just go out and play the next play. And that's what Christian Gray did last year in the USC game, because, he was getting picked on and, probably didn't. But the thing is, he never lost confidence in himself. And I think that was evident today. He never lost confidence in himself that he was going to make a play. And I'd rather see him make his mistakes early and then get the picks late like he did, because getting the picks late in the game make more of a difference.
Well, I think I had Christian Gray as my, player to watch, coming into this. And, he continues to struggle, but he continued to fight. You never saw him he did give up on that one play that kind of, when he went across the field, that was like, come on, Christian, you can't do that yet. But I mean, to take to be challenged every play. I mean, they were going after him. He kept that still-minded approach and said, hey, I'm going to keep coming after this. I'm going to keep working at it. But he's got to be better on those double moves. And if you're going to be man up, I need to see you get hands on the receiver off the line of scrimmage. He really struggles in that area that gets him in trouble, especially with those double moves, because he's allowed the receiver to get even with him. So he's reaching and grabbing. And that's what gets him in trouble, is that he'll guess and, he's out of position because he didn't get a good bump or good, get hands on the receiver at the line of scrimmage. But again, he continues to battle, and teams are going to continue to go at it. Mm-hmm. So he's going to continue to get challenged, but to come up and make that play, the interception, and he also, but one of those pass interferences was actually an interception. It was pass interference on the offense just as much as
100%.
How do you call it? I mean, it's like, if you're gonna call it both ways. And look at it. And it's like I said, if they're hand fighting, okay, if you're gonna call it tight, then call it tight both ways. And has been my issue with that. And you talk about cleaning stuff up. We've got to do a better job of understanding. Okay, if a guy's struggling, give him a little help over the top. I would have loved to have seen Tay Johnson and Don Shooter play over the top of the receiver to where hey, if he gets beat, you got him bracketed, and he's not as exposed as he was. I mean, they were leaving this kid on the island consistently. And again, maybe that's the confidence they have in him. But I was like, because several times he's chasing and he's getting run away from. So I was actually wondering, was he a little banged up? Because a couple of times he was running after him and he looked like he was kind of laboring to run. So help my man out, know. But he did make the play that needed to be made when it needed to be made.
Well, I'm gonna say the USC receivers are that fast. They are. Yeah. They are an impressive group. And like I told you, last thing I want to do is give USC any credit. But the analyst side of me has to be objective and talk about what my eyes see. That's a fabulous offense. And I still go back to holding them to 68 yards rushing. They can have 328, 350. I don't care. They can have those passing yards. And then really the only stat that matters, because if you're going to have that many yards passing, you should have more than 24 points. So good job by the defense overall. And it took a while, especially, because I was watching in person. Sometimes you don't see on television. It was taking a little while for the defense to get lined up. And USC, sometimes they would go up tempo with that thing, and that's how a couple of times the receivers were so wide open because the defense didn't get lined up. But I think they corrected that in the second half.
That first touchdown was I mean, you have Golden and you have Gray. I think Gray's on near the Notre Dame sideline.
Yeah,
so try to start sprinting across the field to try to get in position, and they caught it. It was an easy touchdown. That the fast-paced thing definitely looked like something that I think it's good that that Notre Dame got a little bit exposed to that, because that's going to matter, I think, later in the season, to see the way USC was getting to the line of scrimmage, not giving you a chance to make subs or anything like that. That was the one part of the defense where I was like, early, I was like, oh man, like they're gonna have to figure this thing out quick.
And they're gonna see it again.
Yeah.
I guarantee you they'll see it again. Because when you see someone sees, hey, you're struggling, and it kind of was reminiscent of Miami, guys trying to get lined up. I'm like, come on, we can't do that again. Mm-hmm. But again, they adapted, they adjusted in that up tempo. It exposed them, but the corrections that were made, hats off again to this defense, because again, this offense of Southern Cal is very explosive, very high powered, and they, for all intents and purposes, put handcuffs on. And I've got to reiterate what Alan said: 68 yards rushing. That really dictated the a lot of what they did. They just said, hey, we're going to have to pass the ball. And when you're passing that much, you're going to make mistakes. And again, you get 2 picks, the forced fumble, because you're trying to run trick plays, because you're not able to run the ball. And when you're not able to run the ball, it puts a lot of pressure on the passing game in a with the weather the way it was. Again, a lot of missed balls, misplaced balls, again, overthrows. And okay, I guess I do not know what intentional grounding is.
Dude, same. How is that not intentional grounding? He's blocking. He's blocking.
Well, that goes back to the officiating that I was sort of baffled by them not calling that, but
that was insane. That was insane.
Once again,
I'm not an official.
They overcame the.
Give me a break.
I know. But look, I'll emphasize again the 68-yard rushing, even with the help from the officials. 68 yards rushing when this dude rushed for 158, and keep in mind he was the third string back.
Yeah,
King is the third string. Someone told me he's the walk-on.
Yeah.
And he rushed for 158 against Michigan, and we held all their backs to 68 yards rushing. So,
but also part of that rushing, they kept Maeva in check.
Yeah,
he's known to be able to break a defense down with his legs. And again, by them getting the pressure and maintaining those rush lanes, he never had the opportunity. I mean, he was running around and he was very, escapability, it goes without question, but they did a great job of keeping him contained within the pocket and making it very difficult for him to get to his receivers downfield, because he was, had somebody in his face. I think it was one time, like I said, they were going in and he threw a pass, and I believe it was intercepted because he was throwing off his back foot, and it was, he had a guy coming towards his legs, so he couldn't step into the throw. So a weak throw, and he threw it at his feet. So it is a lot of credit has to be given to the Notre Dame defense and their ability to keep him. Because I think he came in with 13 touchdowns and 1 interception, and forced 2. And then the fumbles and the intentional grounding that's not intentional grounding, I guess.
Yeah. But when you getting chased by a 270-pounder, that'll make you lose your fundamentals. You'll throw off your back foot.
All right, let's take our last break here. We got still a bunch more to get through in this game. We'll also discuss where Notre Dame stands now as we look at the playoff picture. Another day in which a couple teams in front of you, at least in the AP poll, lost. So good day for the Irish in regards to that. We'll be right back here on the Irish Squad Show. Guys, you've probably heard of Viagra or Cialis. Maybe you've even tried them. But if you're looking for something beyond the usual pill, it's time to meet Rugiet Go Long. It's not just another ED pill. It's a total game changer for confidence. The effects can last up to 36 hours. That's confidence all day, all night, and even into the next day. And the process is simple. Connect with a board-certified doctor 100% online. And if prescribed, your treatment ships discreetly right to your door. Ready to level up your confidence in the bedroom? Head to Rugiet.com. That's RUGIET.com. And use promo code LOCKEDONCollege for 15% off your first order. That's RUGIET.com. Promo code LOCKEDONCollege. Make sure you use our promo code so that way they know that we sent you. I don't want to pick on kickers too much. But a missed extra point, a missed field goal, 2 kicks going out of bounds. If Notre Dame would have lost this game, it would have been the only thing we talked about for an hour, guys. I mean, it's a bad day of kicking from 2 different guys to go through this. So, Alan, I'll let you start it off. I mean, what do you say if you're these kids' teammates? What are you doing if you're Marcus Freeman? You calling the soccer team at this point? Like, what's the plan here?
Yeah, it's not like the NFL where you can go pick up a guy off the street and pay him a little money so he can kick. You got to pretty much dance with the one that you brought to the dance. And it was unfortunate. And I liken kicking sometimes to swinging a golf club. Kickers, when they're kicking good, they've got a fabulous rhythm. Their operation is consistent. And everything it just flows easily, but it's because of a lot of repetition, doing it over and over and over again, that you're able to get that stroke where you hit the ball where it needs to be hit, and you get that end over end thing. A couple times those hooks look like some of my golf shots sometimes I think I'm swinging good and I see that ball go to the left. It goes left of the world sometimes. But I know it was frustrating for coach, especially when they got to 4th and 15 and had an opportunity to maybe try a field goal again. It's like, nah, we'll just throw that thing in the end zone. We ain't bringing this dude out here again. But I think it's one of those, you continue to support him because you have to, because he's your teammate. But then they got to get back to the practice field. I don't know if he still has, any remnants of injury from that hip that is keeping him from kicking the way he wants to kick. And, you got to just on Monday or Tuesday, he may have to spend some extra time, going through the operation again, going through his fundamentals so that he can be relied on, because you never know. We got these other games coming up that we may or may not need his foot. And so you want to be able to rely on him. And one other thing I'll say, how in Texas they say, remember the Alamo? I'm saying, remember Boston College, because I remember way back in '93 when I went and watched Notre Dame beat Florida State, a number 1 ranked Florida State team, only to lose the following week against Boston College. Now, I know Notre Dame has a bye next week, but who do they have coming up in 2 weeks?
Boston College.
All right. So remember Boston College and get that foot right for Boston College.
I'm sorry. Those 2 out of bounds kicks, that's egregious. That is just absolutely egregious. Like, why are you kicking the ball out of bounds? I mean, just kick it down the middle. And if they get a return, they get a return. And you cover down. But to have 2 kicks down, go out of bounds, come on. No. That's unacceptable. And as it relates to the kicker, I do think there was maybe some, the weather may affect, because kickers they have a very delicate psyche. You can't just, you go to, they're a bit fragile. So, and again, they can get in their head real quick. So it's, but to your point, Alan, it's like you got to kind of continue to, kind of nudge them and be nice and encouraging. But those two, that extra point and that field goal, that was ugly. I mean, that was a shank. The club, and you got swing and it just it's going out of bounds the whole nine. So, and again, you look at him because they were showing his face, on the telecast, and it's like, if they're not locked in mentally, they're going to struggle. They're going to struggle because again, last week he did fine. So, what was the difference between last week and this week? Was he impacted by the weather? Which, I don't know why it would be. I mean, it's not like it's rain. You're kicking the ball. I mean, maybe the ball's a little heavier, but I mean, he just pulled that. He pulled those balls. And it's like, get out of your head. And that's the one thing you always have to worry about with kickers. They get in their head and then they're just really just out of it. And it just takes one bad kick that just will send them into a spiral. So I'm hoping again that this was just this game and they'll be able to get back on track. But that was bad. I mean, that could have cost Notre Dame the game. You're talking about 4 points. The extra point in the field goal, you're missing that. And I'm a little biased. You have one job to do. You just here to kick. I don't want you to tackle anybody.
Yeah.
I'm not asking you to catch anything. I'm not asking you to run anywhere. Just kick. So do your job. And that's kind of why I'm a little I don't dislike kickers.
It's okay if you do. It's okay if you do.
No, I don't dislike them. It's just like, hey, do your job. You have one job to do.
Yeah, it's kind of frustrating when, like as a running back, you got to be able to run the ball, you got to be able to block, catch. You got to have various qualities that will hopefully contribute to a win. And when you see a guy that only has one job to kick, you do get frustrated when he's not able to do that one job. But I'll also say he didn't try to kick it left on purpose. His timing is off. I don't know if there's an issue with the holder. There's got to be some kind of reason because he's got the talent to make the kicks. But something was off, and that's why I say on Monday they got to practice just maybe a little longer, a little harder to get that thing right, because going to have to be able to rely on that foot somewhere down the line.
100% agree.
1st and 3 on the goal line. 2 carries to Jeremiyah Love, doesn't go well. And then CJ Carr, I mean, look, he's young. But he's due for one of these mistakes every game that are head-scratchingly bad, guys. I mean, we've seen the intentional groundings, running out of bounds in a crucial situation, but this interception is the worst play of the game for CJ Carr. He had a couple missed passes, but that decision to throw the ball was atrocious.
Fair, but why can't we line up and just get under center?
Also true.
Ball off and run it.
Because even when they scored later, it was CJ. It was CJ on a quarterback sneak or on a QB keeper that scored.
But okay, can we ask this question? And can we get an answer of it? Can he get under center? Does he know how to do that? Is that within his repertoire of? Because it's like.
I feel you on that. Reggie. That it's just more of a downhill attack under center, and then the quarterback sneak is not a bad play to run, but you're still gonna have to go through some growing pains. He still is a freshman. He's gonna
going under center.
Yeah,
taking a snap under center.
But I thought
that-
it's when they ran that play on that third down that he ended up throwing the interception on. I thought that he had Eli Raridan open. It looked like he was open. Just
but
he
was actually throwing that to Malachi Fields.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He was throwing that to Malachi Fields. And again, you can't panic. He panicked. Plain and simple, he panicked. But let's not put him in that position by get up under the center, take a snap and hand off and go forward with some momentum. It's a lot of teams do it, you know.
Yeah.
A lot of teams do it. And again, I know he's a freshman, but is it that hard? I mean, I've never been a quarterback, so I could be wrong. But taking a snap under center, you can practice. You're allowed to practice it, right? I mean, you do have practice time. You know, you have individual drills. So take that time in individuals and learn how to take a snap under center. Just try it. I will call Mike Denbrock. Love Mike, great guy. Let's just see if that's something we can do.
Yeah, I think I'm just surprised that they're still having these issues at this point in the season on these short yardage situations. And I don't want to be anti-Jeremiyah Love in any way, shape, as much as I can be. But can we try Jadarian Price getting the ball in those situations? Because it's always Jeremiyah Love, like whether it's the 2 handoffs today before the interception, the direct snaps. Why isn't Price getting any of these carries in that situation? Just to, like you're saying, Reggie, just try something different, because this is the definition of insanity, and it's making me insane.
Well, you know,
these situations.
And it is good for us to be nitpicky, not nitpicky, but point out some of these things, because the last thing you want them doing is, oh, we won, everything is fine. No, it isn't. No, these are things that need to be cleaned up. If you are going to make this improbable run to get into the playoffs, because if not, let's say you do get to the playoffs and you get blown out in the game because you didn't correct some of these things. Yeah, that's not even worth going if you're going to get blown out. You know, so no, it's important to point out these things, and I know the coaches are going to probably point them out too, because you don't want to just get fat and happy because you did win the game. You know, you always want to put yourself in a position where you're trying to improve.
I will say it is worth it because you get paid. They do pay. When you get to the playoffs, you get some more money. So
you get some big money.
It's somewhat worth it. We just want to get there. We just need to correct some stuff.
Yeah,
I 100% agree.
Well, speaking of the playoffs, another day that's good for the Irish. You know, they're ranked 13th in the AP poll, and today we see 5, 7, 11, and 10 all lose in front of you. So in the AP poll, Notre Dame will at minimum move up to top 10 in the country. And I know that poll doesn't ultimately matter. We have to wait for the committee to do it in, I think, 3 weeks from now is when they'll do it for the first time. But talk about playoff hopes, like they do use the AP poll as a reference point. You know, they probably shouldn't. That's a discussion for a different day. But today's a good day for the Irish. Not just getting the win is great, obviously, but also the chaos that's unfolding in front of you is also good for your playoff hopes and potentially hosting a playoff game again this year.
Well, we got the quality win. We got the quality win. This was our quality win against a ranked opponent, because I think USC is going to give a lot of teams in the Big Ten some trouble. So having that quality win, you put yourself in an advantageous situation going forward, and our schedule is set up for us to run the table. You know, and again, this was one of the bigger hurdles. So get through this one. You know, you got a bye week. You know, hopefully you can get some guys hurt. I am, concerned about Sheriff, the guard. I mean, that kid was. I mean, he was dominating.
Yeah.
I mean, he was moving bodies, and those tackles for USC and those not small guys. So we definitely need to get him back, get some other guys healthy. But the playoffs are in sight. But Alan said it early on. You got to take it one game at a time. Who's next up? We got BC. What do we need to do to beat BC? focus in on that, lock in, take those games one at a time, and not get ahead of ourselves. But as it stands and as it looks, we're going to move up in the top 10 in the AP and the coaches poll, deservedly so. But maintaining, let's correct what we need to correct and keep getting better.
And you got to cover.
And they did.
Depending upon when you bet.
Depending on when you got it. They covered.
Yeah.
They covered.
Yeah.
So it was 9.5 though, right?
It closed
it went up to 10.5 today.
What?
It went up to 10.5 today.
This is what got me. I'm watching the telecast, and like I said, game day is on. You have the ESPN game day commentators talking about the spread.
Yeah. Sometimes they'll have a section where they actually talk about their, who's your pick just against the spread, not who wins and loses, against the spread. And they got, the little super dog thing that they got going where it's like, I think this team will win, but they ain't going to win by 15,
That's insane, man. That is insane.
It's a different world.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, they're even, this is a discussion for maybe a few guys during the midweek show, but there's even conversations about college athletes being able to bet on sports that are not their own. Like, just like you can in the pros, which is like, I don't know how I feel about that.
That is a slippery slope.
Oh my God.
That is a very slippery slope.
Yeah.
All right, you can catch Alan, Reggie, Allison Hayes, and Tyler this week on the Midweek Irish Squad Show. Make sure you check out Tyler Wojak Monday through Friday, as always, right here on the Locked On Irish YouTube channel. We'll be back with you after the bye week when Marcus Freeman takes on Bill O'Brien, which still sounds so weird to say, and Boston College, because he is the head coach there after being the head coach.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, he is. After coaching the Texans, he got the head coaching job at Boston College. So we will talk to you guys after the bye week. Enjoy the weekend. Go Irish. Peace.